Hi, wee Bob here, and it is getting close to Christmas, yay! With less than a month to go, and I figured I would do 5 ideas for Christmas cards that you can make in Rebelle 5. This way I can show you some of the features of the software and give you some ideas for Christmas cards. One of the main features of Rebelle 5 we are using this week is the stencil tool, which we have talked about in previous videos, but the stencil tool for anyone who makes cards is kind of an essential. My mum makes handmade cards and has loads of different stencils and stamps and different things that she uses for her cards. So we can go to Google and just type in Christmas stencils and we can get loads of images. Just beware of any copyright if you're making these for commercial purposes. For me though, I have recently purchased the Pro version of Canva, and it is a fantastic piece of software for stencils, for stock footage, for making presentations, for helping you with your YouTube videos. It's brilliant. I'll leave a link in the description. If you do use it, I'll get a small commission. But Canva has tons of free stencils and stickers, and easily, if you want to make custom cards, you can just use Canva without the need for Rebelle 5. But let's look at how we can use Canva and stencils and make great cards in Rebelle 5. So I have taken a selection of stencils from Canva and now have them as an image file on my PC ready to use. The first card we are going to make is a basic Christmas tree. First off, I like to know where the centre of my paper will be, and I haven't found a ruler in Rebelle 5, but we can just use a traditional ruler and half the size of our paper as illustrated. Now that I can see half my paper, I just lowered the opacity and created a new layer to work on for our first Christmas card idea. Using the water brush, we can lay down all the water and use the drying brushes just to make a unique type water texture on the canvas.
When the bell on the door jingled once more, and then time almost came to a stop, but somehow I knew, and maybe so did you, that everything would change.
We can then use the watercolor brush with high opacity and high water to give us this effect. During this process, we need to use the visual settings to our advantage, and it is a bit trial and error, find out what works, find out what doesn't. We've talked about them in the past and we've went through what their functions are. I'll leave that video in the description below. We have added the green and we are now looking for an effect we like that fills the water shape we created, just looking for the right colours and the right textures. If the colour keeps flowing away, you'll want to increase the absorbency of the paper, but we need to keep adding maybe some darker colours and messing around with the blowing tool just to get the texture and the result that we're looking for. At this point I'm trying to add colour to our splashes at the edges that we created earlier on with the water brush. But this can actually be easier if we just use a textured watercolour brush in the beginning rather than going down trying to add water and then trying to add colour to the water. If we just use a watery brush that has texture, it will help. As always, if we want to blend out some of the areas, we can use the airbrush as a blender. We now are going to use our stencils and we can import them as shown on the screen. I found this basic Christmas tree shape, and using an eraser we can erase away the green colour, leaving our Christmas tree shape. Using the airbrush, we can then add some lights To finish off, we use a Christmas font stencil and airbrush on the lettering. Just find one in Google or use Canva. One tip I would give is that if you want to use this green watercolor background again with different shapes, use different layers and just use an airbrush to brush white onto the top, and then you've always got the green colour to come back to and use for different shapes. Okay, so on to Christmas card idea number 2, and this is a Christmas tree with a bauble. I think it helps to use the watercolour palette to get nice traditional colours where possible, so I really do like using the watercolour palette. Sometimes I forget it's there and I need to keep bringing it up and remind myself to use them. I'm choosing a variety of colours here: sap green, then olive green, cobalt, turquoise, emerald, and then I'm using a gold colour for the top of our bauble. For the bauble circle, we can freehand it for the loose look, or we can use some of the tools available to us. In this case, the circle selection tool will give us a crisp edge. Once we're happy with the internal part of the bauble, we can invert the selection to erase any colour that is out with the circle. I wanted the leaves to have a bit more volume to them, so I roughly went back over them with a bigger brush. The mixing palette allowed the darker green to be obtained by mixing sap green with ivory black. To finish off, we use a reindeer stencil, but I have went a wee bit too heavy here with the airbrush, and I have to add in the eyes, the mouth and the other features. And we finish off with airbrush lettering. The third idea will be some lights going across our card. We can use line smoothing to give us a nice bit of control over the water being applied to the canvas. We're now adding the tops of the lights with little rectangles and then the light bulbs themselves. We fill in the bulbs with water and just dry 2 areas for the highlights needed on the bulbs. For this example, I wanted the Rebelle 5 watercolour to just flow along the water lanes that we created. It worked reasonably well, but again you can take a different approach to make this process quicker.
We're gonna dance. We're gonna dance, dance, dance. Come on. We're gonna dance, dance, have a good time. Dance, dance, all night long. We're gonna dance, dance, and have a good time. I think Santa's gonna come and join us in this.
Using a dark red, yellow, blue and green, we can shadow the bottom left of the bulb just to give us some 3D shape quality. I just used the airbrush to do this, using kind of darker yellows kind of going towards brown, darker reds, darker blue, and so on and so forth. Again, using our stenciled lettering, we can airbrush in the words and use a textured airbrush to add some snow effects to the lettering. The next idea was a wee reindeer, and we set out the shape again using water. We start with an oval shape of water and then add what I think looks like a toothpaste shape. Using the dry brush, we straighten off the edge of our oval and then add little straight bits for our reindeer legs.
Yes, it's a time of happiness, a time of joy, but now this year is twice as special 'cause I'm hoping for us to fall.
Using a gold ochre colour, and we can blow the paint around the wetted areas, pushing it into the areas where the colour's not reaching, and our reindeer shape will eventually come together. If we're struggling to get paint into areas, just add more paint as shown. Once we are happy with it, we can dry the layer. The bottom of the legs have a brown madder colour added to them. Then use this lamp black and we can add a wee mouth and some closed eyes. As this is Christmas and Rudolph, we give him a shiny nose. We can add a highlight to the nose using a white airbrush. So sometimes though an area is wet, for example these antlers, we don't see the results we are looking for. And this can be due to a few reasons. In this case, I'm trying to get a darker brown to flow into the lighter brown and it's just not happening. And I was trying to figure out what was going wrong, but in this case it was just my re-wet slider was too low. If you watch along, you will see I finally figure this out and get the results I was trying to achieve. Once happy, we dry the layer again and add the finishing touches to our little reindeer, giving him a fluffy scarf, some ears that we forgot to add on earlier on, and a wee tail. Once finished, we can add another stencil effect to our card, in this case a line of stockings, presents, mistletoe, etc. Lettering to the top again, and we are finished. I've done a few experiments the past few days to try out different things for Christmas cards, and I'll show you a couple of those at the end. This reindeer stencil I wanted to try and get a multicoloured look. Just adding loads of colours and then using the blowing tool to get the colours I was looking for.
Yes, it's a time of happiness, a time of joy, but now this year is twice as special 'cause I'm hoping.
Just be ready to pause the simulation once you get the look you're happy with. Once we have dried the layer, but we want to change some of the colours, we can add a layer on top and use it as a colour layer, and we can change the look of our card and enhance it any way we want. Some of the other examples now shown are trials, but I thought they were a bit morbid or not very Christmassy or just didn't look quite right. I have a playlist of Rebelle 5 videos in the corner to help you out with the software. Thanks for watching, and wee Bob is out.